What's up, guys? I'm back. Sorry, having a lot of technical difficulties tonight, but we're going to get into some of the Square Enix news that's been happening lately. That would be Final Fantasy VII's Revelation DLCs, and then there's also Square Enix talk about revival in, in past mobile games that have been deceased, or in other words, out of service. So lots of stuff to get into. We'll also get into some of the Switch 2 ports. Well, so let's get into this. All right, this is working. Okay, so first Final Fantasy 7 Revelation. So multiple FF7 Revelation DLC packs have been listed on the Epic Games Store. Final Fantasy VII Revelation from Square Enix might be getting multiple DLC packs going by Epic DB. A third-party tool tracks everything on the Epic Store Games store. And, I need this. All right. Hope that's better for you guys. These listings include a Premium Plus edition, Premium Edition, Story Expansion Pass, 9 DLCs, and more. None of this is officially confirmed to release by Square Enix, and some of them could be a placeholder and not end up as major DLCs and just be item packs. And it just goes to say you can read about more about Revelation on RPG site and Revelation 7 and FF7 Revelations release date. So let's take a look at this. Type Sandbox, Final Fantasy VII Revelation product. This was created January 30th. Last modified July 2nd, 2026. All right. What do I think about this? Going through this, I keep hearing rumors of extra stories and whatnot. Like this one here intrigues me the most. The 9 DLCs, I think they're just items or whatever else. Pre-purchase bonuses that always comes with a collector's edition or the game itself to a lesser extent. So yeah, I think this is going to be DLC, but let's just picture they Square Enix did talk about continuing this, continue the story of FF after the game was finally launched. You know what I mean? So I think we're going to get. I think we may get some story expansion stuff, but I really don't see that until after the FF7 has finished just doing whatever it needs to do. Not whatever it needs to do, but the final game releasing, and then you could have DLC. I mean, this story is supposed to link up with Advent Children. I'm not sure how that's going to go down. But it's interesting to think about. I'm just hoping Square Enix doesn't do something crazy like expand the story beyond the ending. I mean, the ending should just be the ending. You know what I mean? We should not have any more significance to the story other than an epilogue. An epilogue will be fine. But other than that, I'm good on just having the ending of Final Fantasy VII Revelation, which is supposed to be what concludes everything from OG Remake Saga, the compilation, which is being mixed into the Rebirth First Universe and FF7 as a whole. So that's my take on it. I just hope it ain't anything crazy. You know what? Those DLCs, just like with intermission, they could be having some backstories y- on Vincent and Sid because Yuffie had to have her DLC in intermission, which I fell in love with her, or started to like her more and more until she became my favorite in Rebirth. But anyway, some backstory on Vincent, maybe a backstory on Sid. That could happen, y'all. That's something I'd be looking forward to. Or maybe they have DLCs of Sephiroth featuring him from Crisis Core or whatnot. I mean, the possibilities are endless. That's what I think could happen. And speaking of mobile games, let's get into this discussion. Unlike Sony, who doesn't seem to care about game preservation, matter of fact, Sony is starting to the backpedal a bit, but we'll get into more of that another time. Let's read Square Enix, a company that I do like and love, and recognizes their faults and actually loves their consumers. Square Enix discusses game preservation and reviving discontinued mobile titles in latest shareholders meeting. And this is from Near Reincarnation. Square Enix has shared new comments on its approach to preserving older games and the possibility of reviving discontinued mobile titles during the 46th annual shareholders meeting. They've been around for that long. Wow. When asked about pres- preserving titles that are no longer playable on modern hardware, including discontinued mobile and online games such as Near Reincarnation, the company said its approach varies by title rather than following a single preservation strategy. Nair continues to receive official support through live streams, while other titles have their cutscenes preserved on video sharing platforms. The company said it intends to continue developing ways for players to revisit games after its service ends or their story. Pretty much, they're going to revive these titles based on you know what? They should revive these games, no doubt. Yeah, I didn't have my screen share, so I'll have to read that. I'll read that for you guys again. Then again, nah, you heard me say it. But yeah, I think either through cinematics or like we saw with Octopath Traveler Zero, and most recently Final Fantasy Resonance, which I'm so excited for. They could revive those games or it could be cinematics. I know one thing. Let's get Kingdom Hearts Union Cross Chi or whatever it's called. Either mobile game for that one. Not a mobile game, but a console game. Console game, PC, and then Dark Road, that could be part of the package. I mean, they're both the same thing. Missing Link, that could be being revived as we speak. I'm just speculating, but that's something I hope gets reborn because I would love to see the returns of Kingdom Hearts side games once again. I think they should have went that avenue in the first place, but you know what? Mobile sells, so I can't entirely blame them for going mobile. I mean, look at Dualium, look at Ever Crisis, so yeah. But there's also cinematics and stuff like that. And let's continue. Square Enix also addressed fan requests for sequels and revivals for discontinued mobile games such as Dragon Quest Monsters Super Light, Dragon Quest Rivals. The company acknowledged the continued demand from players even after these games' services ended. Regarding the possibility of bringing former mobile titles to console or PC, Square Enix says its priority will be to preserve the game experiences players originally enjoyed on mobile devices while ensuring these versions remain enjoyable on new platforms. So they want to keep the core aspect of the mobile game mechanics next for people who did play the mobile games, and I think that's cool. But they also want these titles to remain enjoyable on new platforms. So a prime example can be Octopath Traveler Zero and Final Fantasy Resonance, which is coming out October. So those could be the blueprints and the clues on how they plan to bring these games to mobile titles. And remember, they said that Resonance would be an adaptation of Brave F. Espius, and it's based on the first season, so we can get more of those games if Resonance is successful. And I have a feeling that maybe I'm not sure about the ones who keep clamoring for Final Fantasy turn-based. I mean, those type, not all of them, but some of them. The purists, yeah, the purists. Chris. I mean, this is our chance to show up and say we want this kind of Final Fantasy. I mean, I know the rest of us will show up because we love Final Fantasy and we're fans and we're real fans. But at the same time, man, I would like it if Final Fantasy had a mixture of hybrid action and turn-based, and they could deliver that. There's room for both. So yeah, definitely good news on that front. Let's get into this. This is another thing that they acknowledge. Square Enix comments on Dragon Quest 12 remakes and potential Switch 2 ports. I'm gonna put that underneath. Square Enix has shared new comments on Dragon Quest 12, the future direction of Final Fantasy remakes, potential Switch 2 ports, and its marketing strategy for major releases during the 46th annual shareholders meeting. One shareholder asked about the lengthy development of Dragon Quest 12, noting the game was first announced in 2021, and that Square Enix recently confirmed it reset the project's development structure. Square shareholder also questions the game's apparent shift away from its originally darker tone and asks about its release window. Square Enix did not provide a development update or launch window, saying shareholders will need to wait longer for release time and details. They explained that announcements for flagship titles have a significant impact and they intend to share updates only when the timing best suits marketing efforts and builds player your excitement. That's sort of what they've been doing nowadays. Instead of telling us about games that are 5, 6, or even 7 years away. And they started development quietly and didn't tell us until that Dragon Quest 12 reveal trailer or re-reveal trailer. The company also discussed the future of Final Fantasy remakes after a shareholder asked whether future projects could modernize visuals while retaining traditional systems rather than following the large-scale approach of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Square Enix says its current market in developed strategy focuses on understanding modern players' expectations while balancing them with long-term fans of the original games one. Each title will determine its own mechanics based on what's fit for both the title itself and current market conditions. So what I think about that is that it's going to be something similar to what they're doing now with Residents and then Final Fantasy VII remake. I mean, they don't have to have a large scale development cycle like they did with remake, and also they can use these assets in whatever creative studio one created with FF7 and then use it as a foundation. I mean, if there's any battle system that has been well received by fans, whether they're turn-based or action-based, is that the FF7 combat system is universally loved. I haven't heard anyone complain about FF7 or its combat system. So I think they will go with that foundation. And there's also their turn-based games, especially with FF7 Residents. I mean, they can easily incorporate things from older Final Fantasies or recent Final Fantasies and modernize the gameplay like they did in Residence. So there are two paths they can go here. My thing is they just gotta stick with a system or two and innovate on those for mainline Final Fantasies and side games. And then let's get further into this. Another shareholder asked whether the release of Final Fantasy VII Remake make on Switch 2 suggests other entries, including FF15, could come to the platform. Square Enix responded, while there are hardware limitations to faithfully recreating Final Fantasy VII 15, Final Fantasy 15, excuse me. A Switch 2 version is not entirely impossible. However, the company starts short of confirming any plans, stating that the suggestion would be shared with the development team as feedback regarding future platform options. So we got to understand this game is 10 years old now, and its director, Hajime Tabata, has moved on several years ago. The development team, the studio, Luminous Engine, has been dissolved. Luminous Studio, excuse me, has been dissolved. And then there's the Luminous Engine as well, we got to consider. So I think they would have to rebuild that game from the ground up. And who knows if they preserve the source code too. I think they preserve the source code nowadays. I know that wasn't a thing back in the day because they had to recreate FF10 from scratch, but I can see that being a large scale project. But they say it's not entirely impossible. They know better than us what they can do and can't do. So I'm interested to see what they cook up with Switch 2 version of Final Fantasy 15. But get that on the Switch 2 to however you can port it, and I say you will have a lot of people who will be happy. And a remake would be great because then the development team or what's left of it can fulfill their original vision of what they had in store for FF15. Because if you saw Night Sky's video, they had the on Final Fantasy 15's development on what went wrong with the whole project from final from when it was versus 13 to Final Fantasy 15. There was a lot of stuff they had to cut, and a lot of it was like thematic story things as well. So I will be interested to see how they pull that off. The company also acknowledged concerns about the long gap between announcing and releasing major games such as Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest. They recognize the issue and are revisiting their marketing strategy as part of their current term business plan. That's a reboot and reawaken plan, which should be getting near the awaken plan. For example, the publisher said it expects to release Dragon Quest Monsters, The Withered World, shortly after its official announcement. They want to better align marketing timelines with players' expectations in order to maintain enthusiasm up until launch. So that's another solution that they're trying to fix. Look, the long, the long development times have killed Square Enix. We can all agree with that. And that's considering the fact that they had developmental issues. They announced games way too early, as I mentioned earlier. And then they also so have even turned around and rebranded games such as Final Fantasy C15, and it became much different than what the development team had planned for that game, and it was far from the vision of Tetsuya Nomura because Hajime Tabata decided wanted to put his own imprints on it because he had to in order to get this game out. And the past execs of Square Enix did not do these developers any favors, especially with Nomura and Tabitha of Final Fantasy 15 and Versus 13 team. I mean, Nomura got booted off the project to work on Kingdom Hearts 3, and we later learned he was the director of FF7 of 2016 to get a full-scale Final Fantasy game out there. And that's why Final Fantasy 15 is the miracle, yet the beautiful mess we all know it as today as a game. I mean, I like Final Fantasy 15. I really liked it a lot. And it got me through a hard period in my life with college, having relatives passing away on me, two beloved aunts that I love so much. Rest in peace, Aunt Sandy and and Aunt Jackie. The- huh. 16 got me through that year because 2016 was terrible. Oh, yeah. And my job was just let's just say I became a number real quick to them, a useful number. I won't mention what that company is because I've forgotten about them and I don't care for them anymore. And I was going to read this one, but I don't think it's necessary. But I get some of my news from Zendef, so be sure to jump on there, check out their stuff. I really like their stuff. Discover them on Instagram. But yeah, that's it, y'all. All right, to wrap this up, I will be starting my Kingdom Hearts stream next, and then we'll finish the Hollow Bastion arc. Th- You know what? Just to conclude on this, there are some Kingdom Hearts games that I want remade for consoles. I know I mentioned them, but it's Kingdom Hearts, Union Cross, and Dark Road, and Chi. I think Union and Chi are the same thing, actually. I think it could be done because Dark Road is pretty much has the same aesthetics and assets as Kingdom Hearts Chi. And then I still wanted Kingdom Hearts Missing Link, which I was actually going to play and try out. I mean, I'm glad Square Enix made a decision that they could not sustain this game long term and canceled it, even though I was utterly upset about it because of the story aspects of it, because it had a very promising story and it was going to link up to KH4, but it seems like Kingdom Hearts Missing Links demise has not derailed Kingdom Hearts 4, at least from we can see from the apparent aspect. But yeah, I'm excited about all this news. Really intrigued about what they're going to do with 15 as far as a remake or just going into the Switch 2. The DLCs for Final Fantasy, I feel like those are going to be if there's any story related stuff, I think it's going to be more related to the backstories of Sid, Vincent, Yuffie, Sephiroth, and maybe even we'll get a glimpse of Aerith in the light stream because she is there as far as we know, as far as we can comprehend. But I'm glad that Square Enix noticed a lot of their faults in the past, and they are sadly getting better and trying to get back on track. But I think I've rambled enough on this subject, but at least it's a positive one, unlike the other news going on with Sony. So I will see you guys in a few minutes. We'll start our Kingdom Hearts 2 final mix stream. And I'll be doing this on Streamlabs as well. So stay tuned for that. All right. I'll see you guys in a few minutes. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in a bit.
Without you, friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.